people will value being valued, and they will lean in and they will engage more, and you will likely come out better on the other side than when you went in because of the transparency. So fight through the fear, fight through all of those stories you're telling yourself.
But at the end of the day, it's made you the great leader. And I know I've seen people that respond to you this way. They appreciate it. They can so it engenders trust. It engenders belief. It engenders followers. It supports the notion of leadership. I think it really strengthens that leader.
People don't come out and say it, but what they're effectively saying is, oh, they can't handle it. This is too much information for them.
Correct.
And so that's when I start to lose my shit. Like, wait a minute, why are we insulting these people? Or how have we hired so poorly? It's easy to be transparent when things are good. It's easy to be a great teammate when things are going good.
Correct.
Before we dive into this big topic, if anything we say along the way hits home, sounds like something you or your company is struggling with, that's okay. I help companies with this all the time, be it a CTO as a service, fractional help, agile coaching, whatever it may be. Reach out to me at kazi.io, Kazi.io. We'll get you straightened out.
Entry music. Da, 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 da. It's the Bob and Josh show. You know what, Josh?
What, Robert?
I can see right through you.
I had no idea you were starting this already. And we're off. Can you?
I can.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see there's books on the shelf right behind you.
Yeah.
You transparent animal, you. I just you're like a window of wonderment. I don't know. Yeah, there is a reason why. This is why you always kick off the episode.
Gosh. I don't know what it is. I feel like you force it sometimes.
Really? What?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Which is a good segue into our discussion about transparency and about how it's really hard to be transparent. This is something Bob and I, our minimal prep on today's episode was me texting Bob maybe late for Bob, last evening for Josh about transparency and how it's difficult to do. And so many people, so many influencers or social media folks or anything on LinkedIn you might see dismiss it as, oh, just be transparent. Just do it. Like it's a switch you can turn on. And when you turn on that switch, a whole lot changes. So that's what today's episode is about what transparency really means, the challenges that it creates for a leader, which is often why many people shy away from it. But this is something that I wanted to make sure we got out in front of our listeners and viewers, because transparency is massively important, but also it's incredibly difficult.
I don't know.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, I don't. We convince ourselves as leaders. So Metacaster's leadership episode, transparency as a leader, and Josh is setting up. Oh, in his little whingy fashion. Oh, it's so hard. And what he does is he gives people like a get out of jail free card.
There's no get out of jail free card. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying
it's
buckle
hard.
up, Buttercup.
Oh, now we're getting a little perky. No, but I think it's sort of an excuse too. It's hard. Like clarity of communication, radical candor.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yes.
Well, yeah, of course it's freaking hard, but buckle up, Buttercup, and get over it. Now, I like that line. Transparency. Of course it's hard. I think a lot of leaders, I think the only place where you really need to be transparent is on the HR side of things. On the, depending on HR rules, or the only place where you don't have to be transparent, where you have an excuse to become more opaque, is with company edicts or HR rules or, things like that. or confidentiality. You put someone on a performance improvement plan, right? So I think on the organizational side, what I'll call the HR side, I think you need to be wise there. I think you
Yeah.
need to listen to human resources. You need to listen to company policies. But that's not everything in a leader. That's a minor slice of a leader. Everything else, I would say, you don't have an excuse to be opaque. You should be transparent. The only reason you're opaque outside of that is it's your own it's your own problem,
Yeah.
right? You're worried about it yourself. Or I was burnt in the past, or I shared a salary with some, even that's on the HR side, but I prematurely told someone I was thinking about promoting them. And then I don't know, I couldn't do it. And I'm kicking myself. So I'll never promise, or I'll never talk about promotability ever again. So I won't be transparent about that. And I'm like, shame on you. You should be. You should be transparent about performance goals. You should be transparent about the organizational dynamics. You should be transparent about your vision, your mission. You should be transparent about your personal life to some degree, right? Like, you be vulnerable. Be transparent about you as much as you can, right? Don't share your divorce don't share your divorce details, or the paperwork, but share that you're having some personal trials in your life, and share all of that stuff. So I guess what I'm thinking, Josh, is that there's an 80% easy transparency, maybe 20% company dynamics, maybe that kind of a mix. And then we glom all of that and saying, well, we can't be it's really hard.
I don't think I did a good enough job landing the topic well.
Oh,
There was an article that I read, a Substack, I'll share it, about all of these. It was somebody talking about how everybody wants their engineering team to be business minded, commercially minded until they are. Because when they are, then they have opinions and they're challenging the roadmap and they're asking difficult questions and all of those things. So everybody wants that until it happens, especially when you hire really well and you hire, you know, opinionated, diverse views of how things can be tackled. That's the challenge that I'm talking about. And to me, the real challenge is that people don't understand what I believe to be is effectively the full-time job is sharing the context, is making sure everybody has the context, similar context across the board. And when
correct.
you're leading a large organization, you effectively, that is the job. That's what you're doing, is making
Correct.
sure everybody has clarity and context, and people try and skimp on that. And that's where things get into trouble, because people get off running in directions without the full context that's needed to make the best choice. So then you get all these slightly misdirected efforts across the organization, and it starts to feel like you're kind of losing it. Like, oh my gosh, we aren't rowing in the same direction, but we're always talking about the mission and the vision, and everybody knows that. Yes, but there's little splinter cells of context where people are running differently than others. So to me, that's the challenge I want to talk
That's
about,
the
is how,
transparency.
yeah, of how you like can never say it enough, and that effectively turns into the job, and that's a
But I think
that's a
there's also,
grind.
so to me, that's not transparency. That's effective communication, or that's
Okay.
consistent and aligned communication, clarity, alignment. However, I think there's a transparency part of that. What if we're leading an organization? So there's that side of it. But what if we're not competing very well in industry and we have 6 months of cash, and we're going to run out of cash unless we deploy something minimal viable product, plus plus or something like that.
Right.
So there's the communicating what it is, but I also think there's being transparent, being vulnerable and transparent on where we're at as a company, what personnel actions we might have to take, um, being clear about roadmap plus runway plus, there's a danger that we may, even with our best efforts, we may misinterpret the customer, and we may blow it. to some degree. So how do we, sort of transparently communicate that? The risks, the risk set,
Right.
etc. As leaders, I think we have a responsibility not to drive people towards the exits, but to be really balanced with where are we, right? What are the challenges we have what are the, not just the product and technology challenges, but what are the company challenges we have? What are the competitive marketplace challenges we have? What are the skill set challenges we have? Um, for example, let's say we hired poorly, right? And so we have a mediocre team. Do we say nothing about that? I'm not saying we look everyone in the in the eye and demoralize them,
Right.
but do we keep every day as leaders we come in? Oh, this is a world class, high performance team, right? Led by Josh Anderson, and we're hardly getting anything done, and everyone's pushing back on AI augmentation, right, and etc. Whatever. I don't know if so. To me, being transparent, being elegantly transparent with where are we, or
Yeah.
being balanced. I say that's a part of it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's one of the things that's bothered me is that you end up, say you're part of a leadership team and you're working on a company, and just the normal challenges come up because because it's hard. Building a
Yeah.
multi-billion, 100 million, $1 billion company is just hard, right? If it was easy, everybody doing it. But so there's a lot of challenges, a lot of things that jump up like, okay, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And the number of times where I've been in a room and people don't come out and say it, but what they're effectively saying is, oh, they can't handle it. This is too much information for
Correct.
them.
Correct.
And so that's when I start to lose my shit. Like, wait a minute, why are we insulting these people? Or how have we hired so poorly?
Correct.
And so that's it's easy to be transparent when things are good. It's easy to be a great teammate when things are going good.
Correct.
You find the true leaders maintain or increase the transparency as things get difficult because they value arming their people with the information of the challenges, because that's one of those things where without that context, again, a team might be trying to do something that doesn't align with this unknown need, and then some part of the organization or another leader might get frustrated of, oh, why are they doing this? Because they
Right.
have no idea, and it's not their fault. They're doing the
Correct.
best they can with the information that they had at the moment that they made the choice. So because we haven't enabled and empowered them with that information, how do you expect them to make this magical decision without this context that they don't have? Because you've
Yeah.
decided it's too much for them.
I think it's truth telling. I mean, as you're talking, I think as leaders we have to be there's a percentage of not lying, there's a percentage of filtration, but we by and large have to be truth tellers and sharing the truth as we know it, and not to hurt or harm or to put a facade, but to arm people with the truth so that we can all make good decisions as leaders. So, for example, Josh, and some of it's really hard, some of it's finessed. Let's say you and I, let's say I'm the VP of engineering and you're the VP of product.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that at least the engineers know how inept you are. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, gosh, they certainly know.
And they certainly know.
Yeah.
So
Everybody knows.
well, not everyone, but I have a responsibility to be a truth teller. So if I act like you are the best thing since sliced bread, that's going to be undermining credibility,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I throw you under the bus, I'm not a good team member. So there's something in the middle there where I acknowledge constructively, yes, Josh is a work in progress, right? And I'm working, and you know what? And he shows promise, and I'm working with Josh, and Josh is working with me to figure out how we create the best technology to product mix in this company, right? And maybe right now he's a little rough around the edges, but we need to give him. I'm trying to role play here a little bit. We need to give him some runway because I see a lot of promise in Josh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But yes, at times right now, he has appeared to make some stupid decisions. Granted, but we're going to go with that or
Yeah.
whatever. what I'm trying to do is to talk about, so I could hide it. I could amplify it too negatively. I could hide it too positively, or I try to walk that sort of that realistic truth teller, like from the heart sort of thing. And I would hope that you would do the same thing about me, because the product team thinks I'm a moron as well.
Right.
Clearly.
Oh
And
yeah, I mean, yeah.
and that starts from the top, Mr. K head. So, so, but and and sort of balance that. I think what I just described is a rare thing, a rare a rare bit of transparency. I think most people either go to the two extremes I described, either throwing someone under the bus because it's easy,
Yeah,
or ignoring it because it's easier than trying to be subtle and to couch the reality. What do you think? Any reactions to any of that?
yeah. That I think that subtlety is a challenge and can be a reason why people opt out of having the discussions, because you can't have the same discussion with every part of the organization. You know, when something's going bad, trying to figure out how to thread the needle across the board,
Correct.
because everybody has their own lens with which
Correct.
they view the world and what is most important to them. So understanding the right way to have the discussion with every part of the organization is a real challenge. Again, because everybody has their own lens of how they view the world and what's important, what's scary, what's not, what's a layup, all those various things. So what you can't do is you can't just have the same discussion with everybody. If you do that, it's going to fail. It's going to be a disaster,
Right.
and you're going to probably make things worse. So the real challenge is having the awareness situationally of how I should lean into this with each group effectively across the board. So that's
and I think the truth teller part is be real. What I was
yeah.
It's not the words I was trying to get at there. It was the genuineness of, this is how I feel. That's the truth teller part. Is, as leaders, we don't want to be political.
Right.
I hate slimy. Someone says something and they don't really mean it, then they're trying to tell you what they would think you want to hear, or they're being political here. It's Let's be truth tellers. I think part of that transparency is, this is where I stand, right? And I support Josh right now, and I'm working with Josh. I'm committed to that. I'm committed to the leadership team. So that's that clarity of transparency. I'm committed to this company. I'm committed to this product. Of course, we've made some adjustments. Of course, we haven't hired, right? We've made some hiring mistakes. We're going to, or we haven't hired. We've made hiring decisions, but we're adjusting that.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at head on, and we're making adjustments to that. So I think that's part of that transparency. There's the alignment business thing, and then there's the communicating, where am I coming from? I guess leading, right? It's leadership. It's
yeah.
Go ahead.
Part of the transparency that is a challenge is, one of the things that I believe in is, being in the technology space, we end up working with very logical people. And what I always try and do is make sure that when I make a decision, knowing that there's going to be a subset of the organization that doesn't agree with the decision I've made, is what I always try and do is communicate the logic behind the choice that I've made. And my goal, and this has been pretty successful, is that when I'm able to show the team that 1 + 1 = 2, everybody can look at that and say, like, oh, okay, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. And so that's where a lot of people opt out, because you start explaining your rationale, and that opens the opportunity for somebody to challenge that and say, well, wait a minute, I actually disagree. I'm not sure 1 + 1 = 2. And that's a scary thing for a lot of people, but you need to turn it the other way. And like, oh, you've engaged a set of very intelligent people, assuming you've hired well, that you've now enabled to look at this difficult problem. Again, the reason you're explaining it to folks is because it was a difficult choice and it wasn't easy. And so you want them to understand the why. But now maybe someone sees it slightly differently, and maybe that saves the day. Maybe that's the rescue that the company needed, because we engaged this very smart person, because we shared with them. They had the idea that no one else had, but they never would have had a chance to have that if you didn't create that openness with them. So, but that's a challenge, because also maybe you haven't done a good enough job sharing the context leading up to this. So now all of a sudden you hit them with all this extra context that they've never had before, and it's hard to consume that and process that. And so then there's thoughts and ideas where maybe they've skipped over or they didn't hear a thing that you said. And so now they're jumping to a conclusion, and you got to like reel folks back. And so there's a lot of effort into, okay, I understand how you got there, but let's reset. It's this, 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 and this. And we skip this part, which is why it's a mess. So resetting folks there. And that's a lot of effort, again, to get everybody on the same level of context and clarity to where we can all look at the decision and say like, oh, okay, yeah, this sucks, but yeah, that's the right answer.
Or sometimes, I mean, there's the logic side of it and being transparent with logic. There's another side of it, which is being transparent with, I don't freaking know.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. And oh, by the way, we don't have the time to have a debate. Right. So we're going to run an experiment, or I'm going to put my best guess out there, and you need to trust me, and I need your support. I don't think you always. So when it's appropriate, play the logic game. I think when you're getting into what was it, analysis paralysis,
yeah,
then we need to play that's I think that I was watching a Steve Jobs video. There's a video where someone in the audience years ago, someone challenges him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And later on, he makes the point of, well, at least we're making decisions.
Yeah.
They may be the wrong freaking decision, but we're making a freaking decision.
Yeah.
And we're smart enough, and we're all on the, so I don't need you to be on board with the logic. I need you to be on board with, let's take this step. And if it's wrong, be on board with opening your freaking mouth and being patient enough and then saying it. And then we'll pivot from that. So, and sort of the I don't knows, and have that transparency of that as well. So I think it's situational that way. And then just looking everyone in the eye and just saying, and I expect you, right? You have to get on board somehow. Get on board. So I'm trying to sell you in the logical on board. There might be a strategic on board. There's the trust me on board.
Yeah.
There's the none of us freaking know. You may think you know. Trust me, you don't know. I don't know, and you don't know, and none of you know. But let's figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
There was any reactions to that?
Yeah, there was a situation maybe a week ago with this company that I'm working with where we all knew there was no good answer. It was just a situation that had come up, and it's like, gosh, this is like there is no good answer. So the team was like, hey, Josh, here's what we want to do. If you want to do something different, we are behind you. And the thing I wanted to do was a little bit different than what they wanted to do. But the way I couched it is, there is no good answer here. There is no perfect answer for the situation that we are in. And when that happens, what I try and do is I rely on like my principles of, hey, we're just going to do the right thing. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, it's going to suck. We might be looking around and other people might not be doing the right thing, but we're going to do the right thing. So I'm going to ask you guys to go out and do this and try and make this happen. And the team was comfortable with that. But part of it was admitting that there is no perfect answer here. And we all were trying to find the perfect answer and just, wringing our brains, trying to figure out what that was. And just got to the point where there isn't one. And so we can continue trying to find that perfect answer and
or we
just
move.
like opt out, or we have to make a choice. And this is the choice. And this is the why behind what we're going to do.
Yep. But even that's a beautiful Metacasters. I hope you're seeing the transparency in these stories or these snippets. There's the transparency that Josh was just talking about, right? Of just being honest and open. So I've seen leaders that go in there and they pretend they have the logic, or they mislead about the business case. Oh, it's all rosy. If we just do this, we'll get $1 gazillion or whatever. They make shit up, right? They try, and they're not malicious. They're just uncomfortable with conflict, or they're trying to paint a rosy picture, or whatever, or they're trying. It's wishful thinking, and it goes back to truth telling. I think the center point of the transparency is be a thoughtful sort of position. Don't be rude. It's not radical candor just spewing out truth. But being articulate with your truth telling, and assuming that people can handle the truth, that they would not only handle it but appreciate the truth.
Yeah. One of the things.
Well, let me one quick thing. Hold that
okay.
thought.
Yeah. Okay. Holding.
Metacasters, I wanted to give you a dose of truth. So I just want to say that between the two of us, I'm the most damn handsome man on the planet Earth. I'm a truth teller. I've got these red suspenders on, and they are damn sharp and damn snappy compared to Mr. Green Shirt over there.
Yep. It is a differentiator that I can't compete
there's
with.
no logic. You can't compete there. No.
Just, that's fact.
Damn, baby. Yeah. Be a truth teller. I'm sorry,
yes.
John.
So one of the things that Bob mentioned that I want to highlight there is he rattled off a handful of reasons why people do it in a non-malicious manner. And so that's what I want to highlight here, is that there are a ton of reasons why leaders opt out of providing the transparency. And at the end of the day, it's because it's kind of difficult. Arguing back to the original Bob when he opened it up, he's like, oh, this is easy, just do it. And like, well, that's the thing I'm trying to get people to work through, is that it's not easy. And maybe we got Bob there over the last 25 minutes.
Nope.
No,
I still think it's so. I think we make it hard. I'm acknowledging that it's hard here, and that we have to become proficient at rewiring ourselves as leaders to become better truth tellers.
Yes.
But I don't think it's outside that hard to say, tell the truth.
Yeah.
Right? With your family, with your kids. When you raised your kids, Josh, did you tell them the truth or did you lie to them?
Right.
By and large, I'm guessing you told you were a truth teller with your kids. Right?
Yeah.
So we're not, I just think it's a mental, it's still hard, but it's not a physical. I don't think someone is going to come into you and fire you, take a deduction in pay, take your car away or something, or, it's mentally hard. We're our own. The good news is we're wired.
I see what you're saying.
Wired here. And if we can wire ourselves that way, I think we can unwire ourselves pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I want to try and restate that. It's scary. But when you do it, you realize, oh, that wasn't so bad. And wait, this is better. I'm glad I did this. That's the real thing. Is yes, it's not hard. It's scary. You end up telling yourself stories of how it's going to unravel and it's going to be a disaster. But what you'll find out is that it actually turns out pretty you're always in a tough situation where you get in like, oh, this is scary. It's not like it's going to come out roses, but you're going to realize people will value the transparency. People will value being valued, and they will lean in and they will engage more, and you will likely come out better on the other side than when you went in because of the transparency. So fight through the fear, fight through all of those stories you're telling yourself. I think we got there. I think we're on the same page. We just were using different words of how we got here.
Well, and it's what makes you different. I think it's one of your superpowers as a leader, Josh, is that you are a truth teller. You are transparent. Sometimes you're almost too transparent. You can be a little, you need to work on delivery at that. But at the end of the day, it's made you the great leader. And I know I've seen people that respond to you this way. They appreciate it. They can so it engenders trust. It engenders belief. It engenders followers. It supports the notion of leadership. I think it really strengthens that leader. I think if you're transparent, you're a leader. If you struggle with transparency, I think you're a manager. I'm not sure how much of a leader you are. So that's one of those differentiators, I believe.
Yeah. And, I appreciate everything Bob's saying. And that's one of those core, this is Josh, is telling the truth. And I still get scared I still get nervous, like, oh my gosh, this is not going to be fun. And I've done it time and time again in worse situations, in different, companies, all these various things where, like, oh man, I got to go do this. And I can tell you, I'm seldom excited to do it, but it's one of those things of like, I know I have to do it. Even though I've done it a ton of times, it doesn't make it easier. There's always that little bit of fear. There's again, to Bob's point, there's those stories you're telling yourself. So it doesn't go away. Maybe you get better at talking yourself out of that fear, but it's still hard.
Well, and changing, and Josh gave a key there, Metacasters. There's this notion of we are what the stories that we tell ourselves. And if we want to change something, we have to change those stories. So you throw out whatever and then you have to have a reframed story. The other thing I want to quickly say is, I think, at least for me, the language and examples I've been using are downward. But I don't think, I want to make them 360. So it's not just to the team, it's to your peers. So we need to be transparent to our teams. We need to be transparent to our peer level leadership team. And we need to be transparent in all the ways that we're talking about to our leadership as well. And Josh is that, but I just wanted to make sure it's sort of 360 directional, not unidirectional down.
Yeah. And that's there are people that will find that more scary.
Yes.
The peer and up, there are a lot of people that find that terrifying. And again, once you do it, you realize, oh, people welcome this, they appreciate this, and this actually makes the job life better, and we're getting better, and we're improving, and we're fixing the problems that are out there because we're aware of the problems.
Well, think about it, Metacasters. It's better. It's the truth. Imagine we're saying, well, you want to lie. You don't want to make it sound. You don't want to show weakness. It's green. What is that watermelon status? A project is green until the very last minute, then it becomes red. No, you want that bad news early so you can do something. It's again in that genre of truth telling. And one of your ground points to get to rewire yourself is look in the mirror and say, all I'm saying is that I know there's all this sort of fear and ramifications, but just make sure don't misread it. Just whatever you know to be the truth, speak the truth. Don't make stuff up. Don't have conjecture. Right. So I know that 50% is this, but then I go off. I do this sometimes. I go off on a tangent. I go off on the Bob soapbox. When you're doing the truth telling, you probably want to leave the soapbox crap to the side, and you want to just stick to your story, stick to the truth, but then speak the truth.
Yeah. And another thing is, pretend I didn't have this information that I'm sharing, and I find out later somebody had the information and they opted out. They chose not to tell me.
Yeah.
How would I feel?
Exactly. And Josh, you know what we're talking about here? I mean, in this date and time with layoffs and things like that, and I'm not saying we take 100%. Again, remember the HR stuff and there's disclosure, but at the same time, there's so much filtering going on right now, and that folks are getting. I mean, like, oh, I was surprised. I never thought that I'd get laid off. I thought everything was fine. Every agile coach on the planet, 1,500 agile coaches just got whacked. I can guarantee you leaders had some unless there was some indications of stuff and there was some filtration going on. And we as leaders, we owe people transparency. Right? It's not just work, it's lives, it's professional decisions. It's making decisions about where they go next. It's making decisions about if they're going to buy a house, etc. I'm not trying to make it sound it's telling the truth so fellow humans, fellow adults can make solid decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
We have that fiduciary responsibility. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, no one likes a surprise.
Not at all.
Yeah. In the realm that we're talking about, surprises are really bad. And if you get to a situation and someone is surprised, don't put it all on them. Don't say, oh, you weren't listening. No. Reevaluate your path. And was there something I should have said, something I wasn't clear enough, something I should have worded differently so that they understood the weight of the situation? It's a two-way street. I understand. People have to listen. But when you're leading an organization and something happens and someone is surprised, you have the obligation to yourself, to your future self, to your team, to evaluate that and say, what could I have done differently? How could I have shared this more effectively? Because of all of the situations that Bob talked about, there are people that are planning their lives around this job, a house they're going to buy, a family they're going to grow, a move they're going to make, a vacation they're going to take, all these different things that they're counting on various things. And if you're giving them the transparency and it's not landing, you have a responsibility to improve the way you communicate. So yes, they need to hear, they need to process it, but also you have a responsibility to figure out how you could have done it better.
You know, I want to be transparent, Josh. You know, I keep looking in these Metacast episodes for an opportunity to passionately, violently disagree with you and butt heads.
We try.
And walk away saying, we have to agree to disagree. And walking away. And I have yet to find one of those I'm going to keep Metacasters. I'm going to keep looking. But damn it. I thought I had one here. I thought it for a little while. I thought I had one.
Yeah, it's the standard. We come in with a little bit of context that's slightly off. And as we talk, we realize, we're saying the same thing with different words.
I know.
Damn it, because we were going to have that fiery episode. I want
that agree to. Josh, damn it, you pissed me off. We need to agree to disagree. I want that moment in my life. We have to. We'll find it. Eventually, we'll find it.
I hope so.
I hope so.
Do we just stop? Like, do we just shut the podcast down when that happens?
When that happens, we need to stop. When we really, like, literally, we get up in a huff and we walk away. oh my God, that would be so cool.
Okay,
in a
fair
huff.
enough. Yeah.
Hey, so are we good?
I think so.
Did we land the juice?
We did. I don't know if we did that. I'm not even sure what that means, but sure.
All right. So, Metacasters from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina.
And beautiful downtown Fuquay Varina, North Carolina.
I'm Bob Galen.
And I'm Josh Anderson.
Shake.
And bake.
Take care, y'all.
Did we land the juice?
The juice.